You know, the results aren't where we want it to be, and I know that.
But it's getting better. 2 straight wins and a sit-down interview with the man in charge.
Speaking of back-to-back wins, that's what the women did down in Texas over the weekend to extend their winning streak to 5 games.
I'm Sam Covone, live from the studio set. Later on in the show, I'll be giving my predictions for the Women's AAC tournament with an early March Madness bracket.
And I'm Kylie O'Connor, live at the Leah Core Center. Later on the show, I'll be talking about another team of people who covers Temple athletics. Course in Session is live, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Courts in Session. I'm Jake Gabel alongside Hayden Bandel. And believe it or not, both of Temple's teams are on win streaks.
That's right, the men get back-to-back dubs in conference play for the first time all season, and the women have now won 5 consecutive games for the first time since the 2019-20 season. Let's take a look at how they got there. Of course, ladies first. Owls versus Owls inside of Tudor Fieldhouse on Sunday afternoon. Tiara East grabs one of her 10 rebounds and blows by the entire Rice defense and finds Rain Tucker wide open. Tucker had her 11th career double-double. Jazzy Owens-Barnett drops it down low for Malaya Fisher, being guarded by Jalissa Molina, and gets by her with the spin move using the right hand. She had a career-high 24 points. Aaliyah Nelson, this time she goes into quick transition offense and takes it coast to coast and gets the deuce plus the foul. She has scored in double figures in 6 of the last 7 games. To the second half, Destiny Jackson, the ball handler, finds Emily Klazak, who lines up a tray ball for one of her 2 3-pointers. Speaking of 3 balls, Terriana Gary does not miss those. She was 4 for 4 in the first 3 quarters, make it 5 for 5 from beyond the arc to give Temple its biggest lead. Inbounds play, and Rice gets it to PA native Maya Bukanevich, whose step-back jumper is pure. Later in the 4th quarter, Tristan Taylor going to be doing some playmaking as she gets it inside to Tucker. Taylor's 6th assist of the contest. Temple defeats the Rice Owls 75-66.
The win for Temple marked its 5th straight, the longest since the 2019-20 season, and the longest in conference play since the 2016-17 season. Terriana Gary led the way for Temple with 20 points on really efficient shooting. Her 5 threes tied a season high, and she didn't miss a single one. Off the bench, Tristan Taylor went perfect from deep too, hitting all 4 of her threes. For Rice, Fisher's 24 points and 8 rebounds wasn't enough. After the game, head coach Diane Richardson talked about the offense having a bounce-back game.
Well, you know, the game the other day was not typical of Temple offense, and so you know, they got in the gym. We've been here all week. They got in the gym. They worked on their shots, and I could kind of tell it was going to be one of those days. Well, you know, it's good. Again, you all know I take one game at a time. But Ray Dunn at breakfast this morning told me that we were 5-2 on the road. So I was like, oh, okay, then let's go ahead and get 2 more.
Coach Richardson doing some name dropping with Ray Dunn, a former Owl Sports Update anchor and the current voice of the women's basketball team. Now to some trivia. There are 4 Owls in Division I, and 3 of them are in the American Athletic Conference. So when Temple fans chant "Go Owls," they may have to be more aware of some other Owls in the conference. Against the Rice Owls and Florida Atlantic Owls, Adam Fisher's squad is 0-2, but the Owls from Philly still have an opportunity to beat Rice Wednesday night. Meanwhile, Diane Richardson's squad had its first Owls test on Sunday when the Owls from Philly beat Rice. Temple will close out the regular season hosting the FAU Owls. Owls, Owls, and Owls, oh my!
Prior to the game against Rice, Temple played another game in Texas against the UTSA Roadrunners. Starting the game off, Demi Washington accepts the challenge on the ISO and takes it strong to the rack for the layup. Washington had 10 points in just 14 minutes, but ends up getting hurt and leaving the game early. The Roadrunners, with a chance to respond early, Sydney loves what she sees and drains the step-back three. UTSA up 7 at the end of the first quarter. The Owls start the second quarter off strong, with the ball movement finding Inez Piper for a three-pointer. Including this one, the Owls have scored more points in the second quarter than their opponent in 5 straight games. Jordan Jenkins in the post sends Tierra East flying, no whistle, and an easy lay-in for Jenkins. East will get her revenge in the fourth quarter. She extends the Temple lead to 5 with this pull-up jumper in the face of Jenkins. After being tied at 40 in the third quarter, the Owls never trailed the rest of the way and leave San Antonio with a W and Texas with 2 Ws. Temple gets the win over UTSA 56-48.
3 Owls scored double digits, with Tiara East leading the charge with 18. Aaliyah Nelson finished with 11, and Demi Washington poured in 10 in 14 minutes of game action, of course, as Jake mentioned, because she got kneed. Coach Richardson said she was good to go after the game, but ended up not playing the next one on Sunday versus Rice. Because of the soreness, 2 Roan runners had double-doubles, with Elisa Coleman dropping 10 points and snagging 11 boards. In her 4th game back from a knee injury, Jordan Jenkins had 15 and 10 off the bench. With a new 14-team field, the standings mean something different for the foreseeable future.
The top 4 seeds will receive a double bye in the conference tournament, and the bottom 4 seeds will have to win 1 extra game in order to win the conference. The Temple now holds sole possession of first place with that 11-4 record over North Texas and Tulsa. This Wednesday night will be the biggest game of the regular season for the Owls, as they take on that same Tulsa Golden Hurricane. In case you're wondering how tiebreakers work, if Tulsa wins, they hold the tiebreaker over the Owls. If the Owls and North Texas end up tied up, North Texas holds that tiebreaker for beating Temple earlier in the season. So Temple really needs to have the best record in order to get that top seed.
But Temple has already clinched the double bye in conference play. Only North Texas and Tulsa can leapfrog the Owls, so they have clinched their spot in the quarterfinals in the AAC tournament that will be played down in Fort Worth, Texas. So with Temple already clinching that top spot, that means that they will play on the 3rd day of the American Athletic Conference tournament. Time to take a break. Off to the other side for the men.
Yeah, as we continue later, we sit down with the man in charge of the men's basketball team to talk about his first season on North Broad. We're coming back in 90 seconds. Welcome back to Courts in Session. Last week, the men's team broke its 10-game losing streak against UTSA. This week, the Owls took on the Wichita State Shockers, looking to secure back-to-back wins for the first time since early December. Heading into this game, Temple had 2 conference wins, one coming earlier in the season at home against the Shockers. Starting off towards the end of the first half, Wichita State in transition, Colby Rogers misses the layup, but Kenny Poto is there to fix the miss. 4 minutes left in the first half, Settle driving in, nice bounce pass to Emmanuel Akpomo for the slam. The 2 teams trading dunks. Xavier Bell drives, not sure if you want to call this a pass or a missed shot, but Quincy Ballard rocks the rim regardless. Fast forward to the end of the second half. The Owls trailing by 3. Jordan Riley dances with the ball before finding Shane Dezzoni for the game-tying 3-pointer. Things stay tied up at 58, and the Shockers have it with the shot clock winding down. Poto in trouble, kicks it to Bell, who drains the 3 as the shot clock expires. Less than 30 seconds left, a missed jumper, and Steve Settle gets the rebound. Up to Riley, who puts his body on the line to send this game to overtime. The Owls take over in overtime as Hyzier Miller makes the defender look silly, and Temple leaves with the win, 72-66.
2 Owls had their second career double-doubles. Jordan Riley had 15 and 11, and Shane Dezzoni had 14 points off the bench and a career-high 11 rebounds, with 7 of them being offensive ones. Xavier Bell had a game-high 17 points off the bench. Temple had not come back from a halftime deficit all season long until these last 2 games, where they've now done it twice. The Owls are also now 2-2 in overtime games this season. It's not easy putting on a Division I sporting event. So much goes on behind the scenes, and that includes pushing out social media for fans. Courts in Session beat reporter Kylie O'Connor is live at the Liacouras Center to explain. Hey, Kylie.
Thanks, guys. Temple's content creative team is a group of people that covers a variety of Temple athletics. They attend games and practices to capture photo and video, creating graphics and highlight reels. The goal is to bring the fan base closer to the team. Temple's content creative team has a similar workflow day to day, but that workflow is jam-packed with student workers preparing, creating, and producing content. Their time includes working practices, games, and even traveling to some away games. These are the people who are always about just as close to the action as possible. So close you'd almost expect them to be wearing a jersey.
We usually go out and we shoot photos and take videos and make content for all the sports teams at Temple University.
On game days, the team usually arrives about 2 hours before the game starts, depending on the game and which pregame activities are scheduled. And depending on how the game goes, the creative team might stay for at least an hour after the game ends.
Right before the game, I like to come up with my shot list, like to prepare to see what shots I want to get for the game.
When you combine Instagram, X, and Facebook, the men's team has more than 62,000 followers. This ranks 84th out of 200 teams for men's NCAA basketball. But Temple's numbers are going up, 13% higher in 2024 compared to 2022. Even after the clock hits 0, Temple's creative team isn't even close to being done for the day. They're busy uploading footage, editing it, and then posting it to Temple's social media accounts.
We post pregame for most sports during warm-up, so we'll get stuff out on social media there. Today we got out Steve Settle's 1,000-point graphic during the game, so we're prepared for that as well. They're really just kind of seeing what happens during the game so we can be prepared to push out content afterwards.
Although basketball season comes to an end next month, the creative team will still have its hands full covering gymnastics, lacrosse, fencing, crew, rowing, and indoor track. For the remainder of the basketball season, the creative team will travel down to San Antonio and Fort Worth. Then they will continue to go to games and practices about 4 times a week for the rest of winter and spring. Reporting live from the Liacouras Center, I'm Kylie O'Connor. Guys, it's back to you in the studio.
We got to keep working, and I think every situation's different.
Last week, we talked with head coach Diane Richardson, and this week, we have another head coach hanging out with us.
We sat down with men's head coach Adam Fisher and talked basketball, recruiting, and even who the funniest guy on the team is. We're back with Adam Fisher in 90 seconds. Welcome back to Courts in Session. Hayden and I had the pleasure of sitting down with men's head coach Adam Fisher.
His first year has been challenging, but he's trying to build this program up. And that's where we start. Ask him about building a roster and coaching staff almost from scratch.
It was a lot, and I think it's a great credit to our staff. I was happy that those 2 guys stayed. I was happy Chris Clark. I think he's been here forever, so it's great that he stayed. But I think it's the norm in college athletics. I hate to say it, but you're going to have a new team a lot of years, right? You see 5, 6 guys. I'd love to keep as many guys as we can and build a foundation. But you have to adapt to it. Whether you bring everybody back or you bring nobody back, you got to learn the system. And I think when I was at Penn State the last 2 years prior with Coach Shrewsbury, we were able to keep some guys from year 1 to year 2, and I think you saw a huge jump. We added a couple pieces from the transfer portal, but that foundation of being in a system, learning under Coach Shrews for 2 years was really helpful.
And obviously you weren't here last year, but Hyzier wasn't asked to be one of the main scorers on last year's Temple squad, and now he is. How do you think he's transitioned into this role and adjusted over the course of this season?
I think I've seen great growth in his leadership, right? It's, he's written a book, which obviously has been out there a lot on all the TV broadcasts. He ran a free point guard clinic for the youth in Philadelphia. But his leadership's come a long way. I remember the first probably month on the job, I would meet with him all the time about his body language in practice. And to see his improvement in that area. He's a guy in the huddle late in the game who's calming down our team. Hey, we used the term always be cool, calm, and collective right now down the stretch. And he's talking to the team about that. I've just been so impressed with his leadership, his will. We've asked him to do a lot, right? A lot of minutes, a lot of things offensively, a lot of things defensively. And he's embraced it, and he's taken on the challenge.
Now, when we look at the conference, teams with also first-year head coaches, Charlotte, South Florida, they're at the top of the conference. When do you see Temple getting to that point?
You know, we got to keep working, and you know, I think every situation's different. You know, coach has done an amazing job at Charlotte. Was there for 5-6 years. Was able to keep a lot of the guys together. You know, you look at South Florida. I mean, it's probably one of the best stories in college basketball. And you know, coach was able to bring 3 of his best players from Kennesaw State, who are been 3 of the best players in our league. You know, I think we got to grow and build, and I think, you know, that's something we've talked about. You know, the results aren't where we want it to be, and I know that, but I'm happy with our effort. I think we're building our identity and how you have to play on North Broad Street. So I can't give you an exact, here's where it's going to come, but, you know, we want to win this year, and they're not where we want to be. We know what we have left, and we approach it the same approach as every game, same way, and I think you have to treat it like that. You know, Wichita State is our next game. It's the biggest game of the year for us because it's our next game, and that's our only focus.
Pretend me and Hayden are 2 of the best high school prospects in the country. What are you trying to tell us to come here to Temple?
Be a part of one of the most winningest programs in all of college basketball. There's nothing like having success in Philadelphia, whether it's the Eagles, the Phillies, you know, Temple. When you see the city come around you, they respect blue collar. We're going to play blue collar. We're going to compete. We want to keep hanging banners up in the Leah Center. That's something that's really important to us. You want to get a great education. This is the spot for you. If you're worried about NIL and you're worried about your minutes and your points, don't come here. Not the right school for you. But if you want to be a part of something that you can call home forever, this is where you want to be.
Now, I want to talk about...
Wait, did you commit or not?
Oh, I'm here.
I just wanted to check. All right,
Where's the ball?
So both Hayden and myself are on the roster starting next season with 4 years of eligibility if we can get out of our contract here at Courts in Session.
Yeah, Jake, that might be pretty tough. But let's move over to our second part of the interview with Coach Fisher. We move away from the X's and O's and learn more about the team behind him that's going on behind the scenes and Coach Fisher as a player. But we start off asking him about his relationship with the women's head coach, Diane Richardson.
How close are the 2 teams?
You know, I don't know about the ideas. We haven't gotten there yet. I've watched their practices. I know Coach Rich is coming to ours. She's awesome. I mean, she just has this energy about her. I knew right away we would click. I'm so happy for her. You know, I wasn't here last year, but I know it was probably not the best year, but to watch what she's doing now, her vision is full go. The way she described the way she wanted to play to me in September, they're doing it. Their team is so fun. If you haven't come out, support them here as they end this run, as they go win a conference championship. But they play fast, they play fun. Their student athletes are just great people. You like being around them. So I'm so excited. Whenever I can get a chance to get a free moment, I pop in and try to watch and sit in the background and watch her teams go. But we're so happy for her success. She's got to keep it going. We're rooting for her.
Yeah, she's awesome. We all love her. She is a cool person.
She is.
When you're like on the way to a road trip or you're in practice, who's like the funniest guy on the team?
Funniest guy on the team. Great question. I think coach, it's got to probably be Bobby Jordan. He makes us laugh a lot. Funniest player on the team. There's like a trio. So Steve Settle, Sam Hoffman, and Matteo Piccarelli. They're like always like making fun of each other, and I pick up on that. So I'll throw those 3 out there. Jaleel White's pretty funny. I think Hasir Miller thinks he's funny, so that's funny to us. But no, we have a good group. We keep it loose and locked in.
And we've talked a lot about Adam Fisher, the coach, obviously. But let's talk about Adam Fisher, the player. You went to the Maccabi Games silver medal in 2000.
Yeah, didn't win it. Not good enough.
But, hey, you were on the podium. I want to know the scouting report for Adam Fisher back then as the player.
Gritty, tough defender. Was a point guard that tried to be a pass-first guy. I'd let him shoot from 3 back then. Now I can make some shots. But I always thought of myself as a coach on the floor. So I wanted to bring toughness, bring grit on the defensive end. I remember led their team in taking charges and diving for loose balls. And then I always thought as a point guard, my job was to get other guys involved. So So basically that means I was a really bad player. But try to bring some grit and toughness and some leadership to the team.
That was only a small portion of our interview with Coach Fisher, as we were able to sit down with him for a while.
In the upcoming days, you can find the full interview on our YouTube channel and on social media at Owl Sports Update. Jake, what were some takeaways you had sitting down with Coach Fisher?
Well, one of the main takeaways was the way he worked his way up from being a student manager, a video coordinator, and then just all the way to assistant coach, and then eventually, obviously, a head coach now at Temple. He has great relationships with his past coaches that he's worked with at Miami and Villanova. Jay Wright, Jim Larinaga, Micah Shrewsbury over at Penn State. It's really helped him as a head coach, he said, and he still stays in contact with them to this day and asks what to help him with.
Yeah, you said he just always has to be the best in his role, and we had a great time talking with Coach Fisher and hope he's on courts in session in the future. But in the future, we're going to transition over to the women's.
Yeah, Sam Covone is here to give her insight on the American Athletic Conference Tournament when courts in session returns.
Welcome back. The women's tournament starts in less than 2 weeks with the Owls on top, at least for right now.
Courts in Session beat reporter Sam Covone is here to break down possible tournament matchups. Hey, Sam.
Thanks, guys. This week, I'll be taking a look at the women's standings if the season were to end today. I'll also be breaking down potential standouts and who I believe could be bringing home the AAC championship. Let's start off with who I believe will be the overall winner, and that is the North Texas Mean Green. As the guys mentioned before, North Texas gets a 2-game bye. The Mean Green is first in the conference in scoring and third in defense. Not to mention, this tournament is being played at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, which is just miles down the road from the North Texas campus. Temple versus North Texas is sure to be a close matchup. I would say the final score will be 80-77. Although I do not think Temple will walk away with the win, they are a team to keep an eye on. The Owls have never made the AAC championship game, but they're in a position to do so. Right now, they've got the top seed. The Owls and the Mean Green did play once during this regular season, with North Texas taking the win. And if you're looking for some upsets, I do see some coming from SMU and Memphis, who are the 10th and 11th seed respectively. Again, that's if the season ended today. The tournament runs from March 9th through the 13th. But again, look for some changes in the standings between now and that first game. Most AAC teams still have 3 regular season games to go. That's all from me for today. Jake and Hayden, back to you to wrap up the show.
Thanks, Sam. Look at those fine-looking fellows. Show producer Jacob Smedley and I will be going down to Fort Worth, Texas for the AAC Conference Tournament for both the men and the women. You heard from Sam, the women play from March 9th to the 13th, and then the men play from the 13th to the 17th. The two of us won't be in studio for the next show, but don't worry, we'll keep you updated from Texas.
That wraps up another edition of Courts in Session, and unfortunately, we won't be with you guys next week due to spring break, but catch us back on March 12th.
For our show producers Jacob Smedley and Sam Massett, Hayden Bandel, you'll see him in studio 2 weeks from now, while I'll be in Texas with tournament coverage. Yeehaw, baby!